We've set out from South Africa on a 10-year overland expedition, living full-time in Betsy, our self-built home on wheels. Powered by used cooking oil, she carries us across countries as we camp, explore and share stories from our journey. But the Matches on the Map campaign is about more than just adventure. We're raising awareness for stem cell donation, working to add ethnic diversity to the registry and supporting families in Africa affected by Fanconi Anaemia. We document each day, capturing the highs, lows and lessons along the way. Join us as we cross borders to locate lifesavers. Welcome to the Matches on the Map. Subscribe below and let's hit the road. We finally arrived in Piketberg, made a full circle, so about 5.5 years ago we started building Betsy on this farm. It's a family friend, Japie Tredoux, who started helping me out with the waste cooking oil system. As soon as we got news of COVID lockdown, we headed from this farm to our hometown on the other side of South Africa. Very happy to be back. We're going to be spending 2 or 3 weeks here doing some work and maintenance on Betsy. There's a roof that we can work under. Down on that side is a workshop. We're getting a warm welcome here. Yo, what do you think? We're gonna park in here. I'm gonna move this truck forward just now. We'll use this space to get all of our work done. We've got a major list of things we've got to get done before hitting Namibia. Loads of work inside the house, outside the house. We just want to make sure we're 100% ready for whatever Namibia may hold. We've heard wonderful things. As with all farms, there's plenty of scrap steel and stuff lying around, and Japie, our friend, my father's friend actually, offered that we could use whatever we can find if it's scrap. One big issue. Laat er even in. Ja, asseblief. Kom, laat nou staan hier op YouTube. One big upgrade that we can make is going to be the water tanks. Changing them up, so instead of the pipes going straight, they'll have a 90-degree turn with a valve on the outside, but that'll become more clear as we do it. Plan is going to be to first remove all the tanks and fix whatever leaks there are by removing this plate, pulling the bags out, putting them on the table, gluing them. When we put them back in, work on the upgrade so that the valves basically sit on the outside. You can disconnect the bag on the outside and pull the whole bag out without having to lose all the other water. It'll be valves similar to this. While Yolandi is working very hard over there, I'm going to start with taking these panels off, getting the bags out. We're also going to make a quick improvement by cutting some slots in here so that the step can also hook on the side here. Sometimes we can't get into certain campsites. It'll be a lot more convenient to also have the option of having it over on the side. We got a lekker plan here. We're gonna put in valves in between all of these tanks, and we've connected them in a series that when we have a problem with any one of those tanks, we'll be able to fill the other tanks up without using that single tank. Female thread, 2 nippels. Male thread in die valve in. Gaan ons kyk of ons dit tipies kan kry wat
male thread nippel.
Dit sal werk as hy 'n male thread na male thread is. Gaan ons kyk of ons hierdie valve We just spent our day in town picking up all the supplies we need. So we got nice and strong food grade hose for all the adjustments we got to make on the system. Yesterday we got all of the supplies that we got fitted to the tanks. The glue is dry on the patches. We're going to test them out with the air now. If everything is good to go, we can put them back. One thing that we did realize is that all of the main holes that we had was close to where the fittings flexed and turned. All of the straight fittings are flexing quite severely and it's forcing the clamp into the bag. This one actually pulled out of the bag, and on this one the clamp scraped through the sidewall of the tank. So what we've come up with that is to put new types of fittings in there, like elbows that go off to the side instead of going straight.
That's what she said.
We changed this pipe up to that. It's just a stronger pipe with the clamps to make sure that they don't chafe. We've taped them up with self-fusing rubber tape. But because the self-fusing rubber tape is a bit sticky, it will catch onto the steel. I think it'll just make it rub more. So I've used insulation tape just to give it a smooth finish, so it slides on the steel easier, so it doesn't actually rub through. After taking a stroll this morning with my cup of tea, I realized that this is the spot where it all started basically. Took the tank off this. Probably episode 1 of building Betsy, the Matches on the Map project. We've since come a long way with that tank. Gonna be another scorcher today. Try and get these tanks in. Got all of our fittings ready. Now these are the last 2 tanks going in, and just gonna slide them in. Yolandi did me a favor yesterday. She restuck all of the edges of this plate with rubber so that we make sure that the tanks don't chafe against the plate. Today we are filling up the fresh water and looks like everything's going well. We don't have any leaks at the moment. So that's good news. Got the shade netting in because the sun was still hitting us hard on the back here. Guys at work on the farm came up with a clever idea and taught me something new. Put rocks in there so it acts as an anchor for the rope. And then what we've got on the list today is small nitty gritties like fixing this toolbox cable so that it can make a platform again. This tank has been scraping in between the cab and the box here, so that little lip over there. Then Yolandi's busy painting the ceiling on the inside because that needed some touch up.
Identified as a potential match for a patient in need of a bone marrow transplant. Please contact Lisa from this. Hallo my vriend, hoe gaan dit daar? Kyk hoe awesome is die. Die is Bradley, my appie.
So look at this wonderful news. This is one of the guys we signed up. You may remember joining the South African Bone Marrow Registry some time ago. You have been identified as a potential match for a patient in need of a bone marrow transplant. That is amazing. Happy days today. That is our first match. Next up, I'm going to take this bracket off here because it is slightly too close. We could predict this when we built it, but was too lazy to take it out and fix it. So every now and then it starts scraping on the cab there. So I'm going to take this out, grind it off. Struggling with that roof leak and came over to the local builder in Piketberg, got ourselves some rubberizing roof coat, so we're going to try that out. Today is a new day, all about wood today, would you believe it? And we are still feeling great about that match made. The plan is to sand down this door, the deck in the front there because that's been hit by the sun quite hard, and then also the deck. Legit! Very cool, man.
Mag je weer? Nou, kan je niet zus.
Rian, our friend that's been following the YouTube and gave us the accommodation back in Cape Town, came up with a really cool tip. He spent a lot of time in Africa, Vans Africa is his channel, on his motorbike, and he gave us a great tip. Soccer balls would make a very good first impression when arriving at villages and all that, especially when there's a language barrier. The idea is just to pump one of these up, kick it into the crowd of kids, usually come running up to Betsy. Hopefully that'll give us a positive start to meeting a community. So our fridge has a holding container at the back that collects all the water when we defrost, and sometimes, especially when going off-road, the water will fill up and spill over into the cupboard, damaging the wood. So we are making another plan. What we'll do is drill a hole inside of the cupboard and then have a drain plug that goes straight through the floor. So Yolandi came up with a lucky idea, a method on how we can drain this and still pull out the fridge without having to disconnect a pipe. It's got an overflow in there, and as soon as this container is full, it starts dripping out the bottom here and then obviously starts leaking. So I'm going to use this piece of pipe, connect it to the overflow, and then install this into the floor, and it'll drip through this, down, out, straight through the floor. I'm also just going to cut this shorter so that it doesn't need to fill up before it starts draining out this pipe. When this fills up, it starts overflowing into these side containers, and what we've done is drilled a couple of holes through the side panel there so that it only drains this way. Now I'm going to cut this overflow a bit shorter, and then all the water will drain down the pipe and out the box.
Sometimes it seems like I don't even know.
Okay, back. Next up is this deck. It's looking rough. I retreated it about 6 months ago. The sun hits hard up here, so yeah, it needs regular maintenance, which is the downside of having wood on a camper truck. But yeah, we still love it, so gonna give it some love and attention today. A couple of days ago, when I turned on the lights and used the indicator, smoke started coming out of the switch here. So I'm gonna open that up and see what's up while Yolandi is busy scraping off some rust. Alright, so we've got burn marks on the inside there. I have fixed this before, but obviously didn't do a good enough job. But I did notice it was when we put our spotlights on. Maybe it's just pulling too much amperage on these wires. It's getting hot, then melting through, and then eventually shorting with each other.
You're in my world now, Grandma.
It's a new week with new things. Yeah, we're gonna first start with this roof today. It's gonna be cooler and this roof gets baked. It's gonna be a perfect day to do that. Also got into the cab this weekend just to fiddle around with the wires and all that, and found that the winch does not work, and I'm trying to find the solution for that at the moment. Yeah, tried to surprise Yolandi yesterday with a new look, but it's also Movember month, hoping to get some good hours in today. Also, this deck came out pretty awesome, so I'm going to start by undoing all of my bolts and then getting the solar panels off the roof. The wind is pretty rough. I got these stainless steel cables running over the panels just to protect them from overhanging branch. I've got to take them off to get the panels out. Timber and Papa helping me out. Yolandi is going to give me a hand with the rubberizing probably tomorrow. I've also discovered that I've got a short on one of these lights, and then I saw some rust on this bash plate in the front here. Definitely will have to grind that down and repaint it. Alright, so now I gotta get this roof clean and prep for paint, and that also means going into these flashings. There's gunk underneath the flashing. I need to clean that out because we've got a theory that a couple of months ago, actually quite a long time ago, we backed up at the offices of the SABMR and hit a wall. Yolandi didn't see an overhanging wall and it knocked it right there, and I believe that might have bent the corrugated roof, letting in water in from the side. But I'll have to open that up to see. It's clean, but I did pick up on some of the things that we might be able to improve. So this flashing has always been an issue, so it catches on branches and all that, and it bends. I was thinking a good solution would be actually to take these flashings off, but that would mean undoing or unmounting this roof rack, which is already a risk, but then replacing this flashing with a slightly smaller angle iron. I think that would be a bit stronger than this chroma deck. Might be good if we get it to just go where this foot starts, so that this foot can sit flush on the roof, because at the moment it's unlevel and we had to build it up with some conveyor belting. If you were wondering where the heck Yolandi is, she's actually busy inside the truck with all the website updates. She's also hard at work developing the Fanconi Anaemia South Africa support group website, which is going to allow families affected with FA to gain access to important resources and information like guidelines and lifestyle adjustments. We're also looking at getting some translated content. Then I've also got great news in regards to Lowton, the 6-year-old boy diagnosed with FA in Kenya, needing to undergo a stem cell transplant. After discussing the situation with Carla Defoe from Italy, Justin Dutoy, which was my transplant doctor, and the Fanconi Cancer Foundation, it seems that we are slowly moving towards getting Lowton transplanted, which would be amazing. We've so far got the flights covered, the accommodation through Chalk House, as well as the food and the transport to and from the hospital. And then there's a large organization that has committed to paying a large portion of the transplant fees. And then we've got the South African support group ready to support the family when they do arrive in South Africa.
Unfortunately, it wasn't going to be that easy, and the plan later changed to get Lowton transplanted in India.
We got some farm action going on here. There's a saying, goes boer maak 'n plan. Yolandi really wants to help me rubberize the roof, and she's got way too much work today on the computer. So I'm gonna look at one of these lights are tripping up our system. I've got a feeling it's that one at the back there, because I can see water droplets inside of the lens cover. So I'm gonna test it just by disconnecting that one and then switching on the lights and seeing if the system trips or not. I just want to make sure about my plan on the angle iron here. If I can find some angle iron lying around on the farm. Uncle Japie's told me that I'm welcome to use whatever I can find, which is awesome. That one over there. Actually, I also see that one's got droplets inside of the lens. Replace those two light fittings. We'll go into town maybe tomorrow. Today I'm going to continue with these bars for the top of the ledge of the roof. This is going to make that corner stronger, so when the branches do hit, nothing bends. It will probably just look better. Got the steel cleaned up, going to put some primer paint on it now and slap a painted black on that. While the roof rack is not mounted to the roof, it might be a good opportunity to install like a bash plate in between the back rack, which is the rack that carries all the extra stuff at the back, because that rack jumps up and down. It does that on gravel roads, and it might be a good thing just to put a piece of wood in there so that it stops the momentum if it's basically wedged up against the box and not fixed against the box, because if it's fixed against the box it'll start pulling screws out and all that. Found this piece of wood. Luckily there was a mitre cut-off saw here, wedge in between the rack and the body. The plank is going to make that noise knocking against the box. Chiseled out this section here so it can fit over this plate. Did get it wrong the first time because I started chiseling the wrong side, but unfortunately I don't have another plank to use. It's not for flex strength. It's a new day and we're gonna start off with sealing the roof, and I'm gonna put that wedge in on the back rack. I spent a couple of hours this morning just making sure of our route and planning everything out for Namibia. The road is gonna be very rough. Foam in your hair. Pretty confident either one of the sides is never going to leak again. After cutting all of the foam off and painting the roof with rubberizing, we'll put the flashings on there. Pull the rack back a bit so that I can measure the wedge that's got to fit onto that plank. Don't worry, like Elani, I'm not going to back up, I'm just going to use a ratchet strap. Tightened up, and I'm gonna go and measure that gap on the top there. Found this piece of conveyor belt, and I think that's gonna help with the wedge, creating a grip so that the rack doesn't move as much. Got this wooden cleat in here, spacer, and it's got conveyor belt in there, so that'll help it to not move sideways and put some pressure on it so it doesn't have momentum to smash onto the back. Finally, painting day today. We are going to waterproof the roof. We got some rubberizing waterproof paint. Today we are really excited as the bugs are driving us crazy, and Yolandi's mosquito nets that she made herself worked really well for the last year. But the Velcro started wearing out, and also you've got to open them up to open the window. That allows in all the bugs. We've decided to upgrade before going into Namibia because there's malaria areas further up north, and we'd obviously like to be as comfortable as possible and as safe as possible.
We got a couple of quotes from different manufacturers in South Africa doing mozzie screens, and the quotes ranged between 6 and 8 grand, which is above our budget. A Good Samaritan from a national manufacturing company doing specifically mozzie screens came back to us, and they said that they would give us a 50% discount, and they would like to remain anonymous as they actually don't supply to the public. They only supply to installers, so they don't want to step on toes. You know who you are, so thank you very much.
Alright, so we're going to open these up to show you guys how they look. It's a very basic installation. I don't believe we're going to have many issues. I should probably not say that, but it's just pop riveting to the frame and screwing to our wooden window frames.
And just to add, the quote came down to 2.5 grand, which is an absolute steal, as they actually had the best quality and options available. Open sesame, closed.
Today, what I'd like to do is hopefully make a quick improvement on our freshwater system. This week we ordered a new freshwater pump. It's the SEAFLO. It came in looking neat and tidy. We ordered that from Nautical Sports in Port Elizabeth. Our pump is not broken at the moment, but it has given us plenty of issues, and it's also very loud. When we use it at campsites early morning, we kind of cringe at ourselves. I'm hoping that this pump will be better, and I'll keep the original freshwater pump as a backup because it's failed a couple of times, especially with the pressure switch melting. So if it's overworked, then the wires inside the switch starts melting, and I've had to open it up and fix it a couple of times, and I don't know how long it's going to last. So that's the pump right there. Yolandi switching it on. It's not the bottom one here, it's the top one. So hopefully the SEAFLO pump is going to do a lot better. It's a 20 litre per minute pump, which is 5.5 gallons per minute, and I'm pretty confident that's going to give us enough pressure to run the hot water heater. Also, one of the advantages is this pump runs dry without damage, and every now and then when you run out of water, the pump kicks in, especially when you're using the washing machine, and if the pump runs dry, it can easily damage the components inside the pump. So I think that is going to be a big advantage. We also got a small discount from Nautical Sports or Kucha Ledger in Port Elizabeth, and we managed to fund the pump through our official partnership with these guys. One of them actually made a contribution for our maintenance. Alright, so this isn't usually set up this way. We've got two pumps, and the reason being is I was vacuuming the bags or the bladders when we reinstalled them. This pump doesn't vacuum at all, but this one we've realized does. The diaphragm in this one is broken, so it's basically the only reason we use it is to vacuum out the bag. So this usually is on the back of the rack in storage, but this is going to be the freshwater pump that will replace. This pressure switch over here is the one that constantly overheats and then melts, and then I've got to take it off and fix it. I didn't even mention it, but I'm so excited about these fly screens. They are awesome, and yeah, I'm itching to tell you guys who actually made them for us. But I got the pump on there. It helps having piping in boiling water because it softens up the pipe, and then you can easily press it over the fittings. I've basically replaced this whole line, put in the pump. I'm going to keep that nice 20mm food grade clear pipe on this line going straight to the pump instead of having all those fittings. There is a potential of picking up air bubbles, and then the pump gets noisy, so you want to see if you can seal the line as good as you can with the least amount of fittings that you need. They recommend using plastic fittings on the pump's fitting, which I do agree with. The brass fittings seems to cut into the plastic, so I wouldn't recommend using these brass fittings on those pumps.
Well, let's nog even. Hij is een meisje stupid.
So we got ourselves a new buddy. Didn't look like he was going to survive the night. We couldn't leave him out in the cold, so Yolandi's taken on the responsibility here. Boiling hot in Piketberg, and it's going to become way hotter in Namibia. We are suffering in the box in the back there, even though we've got our windows open and we've got a draft going with our new mozzie nets and all. We thought of making full use of this little aircon unit. This runs on the truck's battery at the moment, so meaning that you've got to actually run the truck to run the AC. And I gave Joshua from Green Zone in Nelspruit a shout to ask him for some advice in hooking up this system to our power supply in the back of the house, because it's always got a solar panel on it, and even if we're standing still or plugged in at a campsite, we would be able to run this aircon using the creepy crawly pipe we installed that goes towards the back. So Joshua advised on how to measure the amperage on the batteries. I'm going to start doing that now so that he can select out a Victron charger for us that would be able to run the system. So the Victron charger basically takes 220 volts power, converts it to 12 volts, and that's how it charges the battery. So we would possibly end up using a 30 amp Victron charger depending on what my multimeter says now, but also learn to use skill because I didn't know how to do that. Unfortunately, the guys had to kill a puff adder. We're not ones for killing, but they actually, just before they killed it, they came and warned us that they found a track going underneath Betsy. I'll show you the track now. Yeah, it could have been a situation we probably wouldn't even have picked up on it. Here's the track. And they showed me that you can see it's a puff adder with this little squiggly line on the belly, and they followed that all the way to the workshop and found him in amongst the pipes. Yeah, it could have been a pretty dangerous situation for somebody, even myself, going to fetch some plumbing fittings. So Oom Japie got back yesterday. For those who's been following the journey all the way since we started, would recognize him, and I want to go and try and find him in the morning cold.
Om insit hierso. Jy verstaan? Al kan ons nie hierdie stukkie weld nie.
Maar ons kan nog steeds hier deur gaan.
Ja, maar die plaat kan
Plaat kan na deur skei.
Ons kan hom hier instoot.
'n dik stuk. I'm so happy we ended back up here in Piketberg. Oom Japie is such a character, number one, but also a knowledgeable guy. Yeah, he can figure things out and he thinks out of the box, because he says he's been poor in his life. So he needed to come up with interesting plans. So I was scratching around here on the farm and I stumbled upon this TW200. Yeah, it brings back good memories, as Yolandi actually rebuilt one of those for the truck, and that's why we built that ramp at the back there, but we could never manage to fit it on the back of the truck. I spotted this extension cord reel at the back here, and I think that might be a good base to make pneumatic air reel, something I can use to inflate and deflate the tires and then retract it into a metal box underneath the cab of beds. Then we'll have like a neat place to store and also plug in the pneumatic hose to the compressor system of the truck. So Japie and his family just took us out to Elands Bay. It's quite a lekker little town, very quiet, and we're just checking out the campsite at the moment, wondering if we should come and just at least spend a weekend here, because I see a lot of guys with surfboards and I haven't really had an opportunity. Alright, it's the 25th of November and we want to get the last bit of work done on Betsy and start getting back on the road soon. Klaar by die workshop. Lekker. Alright, so I got my welding gear ready. I'm going to be working on this pneumatic pipeline using this old extension cord reel. I think I'm just going to cut it in half, slim it down a bit and cut some off the pipe. I only need about 8 meters or so for the truck, and build the box. I've got some plates. Also very excited because a good friend of ours joined the official branded partners yesterday, Vicky. I just finished rendering episode 10, which was Clarence, I think, and it took a long time to edit because there was a lot of film, and I see the YouTube views are picking up. We had an idea of trying to find a mobile aircon, because we tested that aircon unit out on the cab, pushed the air through to the back on one of the hot days here in Piketberg, and it didn't seem to cool down the box even after an hour of everything being sealed up. So we don't think that that unit is big enough to actually do the job when we go through Namibia, Mauritania, Western Sahara. Those places are going to be hectically hot. So going to look at options to get ourselves a mobile aircon. This is basically how it's gonna work. Something is wrong with it. Yolandi made an awesome cab storage hammock, and she needs some hooks, so I'm just going to use some of this angle iron, cut hooks into them, bend them, grind them, and then we can install that into the cab, and that's going to give us a lot more space for the tripod, our camera gear, passports, documents, all of that extra stuff that is always all over the show in the cab. She did an awesome job on that. So that's basically going to be the hooks. We'll be able to pop rivet this hook to the roof using that flat plate there. It's going to be hanging down here. Hopefully that's going to work lacquer. Luckily we've got a double panel on the roof, so we've got a cavity in between, so if we pop rivet through the roof there's not going to be any water coming through. That's what I'm trying to get to. One thing I haven't done in forever is ride horse. Charmaine at the farm here invited me to come along.
Je moet hom maar net inhou, anders gaan jy met jou.
This thingamabob is gonna go on the back rack. Gazebo is here, right? Going up towards the winch, which is sitting somewhere right about there. It's got a manual freehand spool, so basically you activate it and then you can pull out the cable manually. The danger with that is if it is activated while the rack is hanging, it'll freehand, so it'll basically let the rack drop, which you don't want because possibly end up breaking a foot and breaking the rack in the process. We replaced that winch a couple of weeks ago because the winch was burned out, so we got a bigger one. Now we've noticed that the gazebo, when going up, it pushes against that lever. It's got a possibility of disengaging that freehand spool and then the rack dropping to the floor. To counter that, I'm just making a slide, so basically the gazebo goes up, it pushes up against this angle here and then slides back into place without hitting the spool. Luckily I had one of these winch plates. It's exactly the same size as the one mounted on the rack at the moment, and I could make use of that. So it's basically going to sit like that, the free spool being there, the gazebo coming up, pushing against this angle here and following through with this line. And the more we try to fix some problems, the more pop up. Yeah, this might have been causing all of my electrical issues. So today we are heading through to Citrusdal to try and sort out this winch. I tried everything that I could do. Definitely need to get it going before we go to Namibia. On the Tracks for Africa map here, you can see if you go onto some of the routes that we'll be taking, it gives you a very good indication of the condition of the road. On some of these roads, you actually have it saying bad dirt, winch required. So we're going to make sure that our gear is up to scratch. Check out this cool old Toyota Tough. Immediately caught my attention. That's the gentleman over there that owns it. Apparently they picked it up in a ditch somewhere. It was totally destroyed. Started putting little parts on it. Extraction fan at the top there. And he says that's for drinks. So basically you pour your Rubberizing in there, then you click a switch and it pours a drink for you, so automated and all. We started the process of fixing up this winch. I've got Oom Jan helping me here from Citrusdal Auto Electric, and hopefully we can get the problem sorted. couple of years ago, we visited a campsite in this area and it was awesome. It's called the Baths. So we're going to make a use of the opportunity and go and check it out again. They've only got the one campsite available for the big truck, number 21 or 22. But yeah, plenty of trees, so we got lack of shade. Basically walk into the ablution block. And we've got a little river running down here. Wait till you see the piece of resistance. There's awesome campsites around here. Campsite number 15 looks amazing. This was the one that they were planning on giving us, but it's slightly low for Betsy. Nice. Is it hot? The nice thing about this campsite, all natural hot springs coming from the mountain. Even the big swimming pool at the bottom there is heated. We're gonna take this spot for today and chill out. And this place is so it's exactly the same as we remember it from probably about 6 or 7 years ago. Definitely worth a visit. What a comfortable and cozy stay at the baths in Citrusdal. Yeah, today it's raining. Perfect weather just to kind of lie in bed and just listen to the rain and the stream next to us. We're gonna hit the road back to Piketberg now. We've got an aircon that's on its way. We were struggling with the heat. Going into Namibia, it's gonna be even worse. I mean, there's no trees anyway. And being in the Namibia desert, I think it's gonna be a wise thing to cool down for a bit, especially when we need to work indoors. I looked at purchasing a portable aircon unit, but I couldn't track down one that was in our budget. I emailed a couple of guys in South Africa, GMC air conditioning, and they came back to me saying that they're going to send us one to keep us cool. Really looking forward to picking that up. We've got to make a plan to get it secured in the home while driving on gravel roads and all that, but it's going to be a perfect solution to the problem of the box heating up when we're standing in full sun. Received a response from GMC Aircons saying that they'd be willing to sponsor us this unit. It's a 7000 BTU. We also checked in with Green Zone Energy to make sure that this unit would be the right one for our energy supply, and they agreed that this 7000 BTU would be the perfect thing. So this aircon is suitable for a room size of 16 square meters. The house's interior is about 15 square meters. Really clean and minimalistic design, and we can use that space over there as a stowaway spot. So the unit comes with this really handy wall and window unit that helps you to fit it to a sliding window, and you can extract through this hole. But we were thinking to rather improvise install this extraction unit. And he really did a great job today. He made us some curtains for the cab. So last day possibly filming for the year. It's the 4th of December 2024. We've got a bit more to do on Betsy. Did change these mud guards up. Not too sure if we like those though. It's very shiny. Still got to paint this bumper. Also have a crack on this rooftop mount that we made in the rain gutter here. I think the weight wasn't evenly distributed. Gotta weld that up, make sure the roof's not leaking, seal it again, and then we're pretty much good to go. The plan is to head to Witbank tomorrow, so we're jumping on a plane, leaving Betsy here, make a stop at family first, go to Witbank, possibly pop into Nelspruit as well, catch up with all the episodes. We've just posted Clarence, so that's episode 10, so way behind, like a year behind. We're not going to get a chance to edit much on the road, especially through Namibia, because the workload is just going to be too much. Organising recruitment drives, crossing borders, documentation, and then dealing with the truck on the road as well. Fly back on the 2nd of January. It's going to take us another week after that to get the winch sorted, but it'll give us some final time to prep. Yolandi is also putting out her last order for the year. I'm just finishing up this last baby chair first. She's on the sewing machine, and we should be able to send that out tomorrow. She's also made a very last batch of jewelry. Not going to be doing that anymore, as we can't order the necklaces sterling silver when we go up into Africa. She's going to try and focus on sewing, so she's got the poop ends bags. She's also getting her last batch of dish bowl covers out, and then yeah, we'll see what the next year holds. So I think this sheet metal is going to be just too thin to weld. I'm going to have to make another plan. I've got some rubberizing, not that it's going to make it stronger, but I might take some pressure off this leg. There's some rust marks down this pillar of the cab. The obvious place where the water can get in is there. What I decided to go for is a combination of things. So I'm going to use a steenfuss, which is almost like a Bradley quickset. Basically makes steel out of mixing two components together. Also going to use some rubberizing, so some of the stuff that we used for the roof. So that's going to make it slightly stronger, and that's going to water seal it, and then I'll make sure to put less strain on that piece of rain guttering.
The Matches on the Map project is proudly supported by our loyal Patreon members and our official partners. Support our campaign by checking out our website, subscribing to our channel, or becoming one of our Patreon members.